Hello guys, welcome back to another video. It's time to get the BMW E46 Touring project complete. Before we get into things though, make sure you do give this video a like. It really does help me out and it shows your appreciation. Now then, like I said, I want to get this car completed in this video. I want to get it ready for sale. It needs to go for an MOT first. We have a whole bunch of parts to install. We have an exhaust, so the downpipe which contains the cat. Somewhere on the one that's on the car it is blowing. It's yeah, really does stink. It's let in exhaust gases by, and it's actually coming into the cabin as well. But I know it's a common issue. I replaced it on a previous E46 Touring, and yeah, it really wasn't that bad of a job. So there's that to do. We have front control arms as well, both sides of course, drop links, rear bushes for the front control arms. So that's all going to go on in this video. What else do we have? New gear knob. It's not a genuine one, but it does look very decent actually. Very happy with the quality on this. So I guess we should start with this actually. Let's go and install this right now. Let's go ahead and get the original one removed. As you can see, it's looking pretty worse for wear. Definitely not going to be able to use one-handed, am I? There we are. It's the original one removed, just pulls off. And here is our nice shiny new one. It is a slightly different design. This one, I believe, is the updated version that goes in the BMW E60. So it should sit a little bit lower, which I think I prefer actually. It feels a little bit tighter rather than something that's, you know, way up here. So I guess we should install this just exact same. Just drop it in place and push it down. There we are. I guess we should just peel the protective film off. There we are. Much better. And yeah, I definitely do think I prefer the later style one. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this is from the E60. In terms of quality, like, you know, if you didn't know, then you wouldn't know that this is not a genuine BMW one. It does look very, very good and very, very similar to the genuine one I bought previously for my BMW E60, and I think this was like a quarter of the price. So if you do want to get one of these, I will leave a link down in the description box below. It wasn't that expensive. I think it was literally like £10 or £15, so yeah, feel free to check that out. So just a little side-by-side comparison. Battered, the old one. It's seen 168,000 miles this has. Much better though, the new one. So another thing that I've already fixed, I've done this off camera, but it is the rear washer jet hose. So I didn't actually know this was bad when I bought the car, but when I was just checking a few of the fuses, I noticed that there was like 3 or 4 of them removed, and they were all in association with the rear washer jet, either the motor or the wiper arm itself. And I thought, why is this? So I put the fuse back in and then went to apply the rear washer jet, and water was leaking all from here, and it was actually the hose. I guess this bit here wasn't sealing over the connector. So what I've done is just got a connector from another hose, which actually fits perfectly onto the corrugated original hose, and then I just got a small piece of silicone hose and then applied that onto the connector, and it works perfectly now, no leaks whatsoever. So yeah, another thing fixed. So then, as you can see, the car is the other way around now. It's actually up in the air. That is because I have went ahead and removed the downpipe. Now, can you see the difference between these two? Well, one's incredibly dirty and black, the other one is nice and shiny, but this downpipe has been replaced before, and it wasn't actually the issue wasn't what I thought it was, although there was an issue with this one. I thought it was the flexi that had blown, because the original one from factory is a pretty poor design. It's like it's encased, and yeah, it just I think the welds break, and then it just blows from there. But the issue with this is it wasn't actually fitted correctly. So the flange here, where this goes onto the turbo, there was a physical gap. So all of the exhaust gases were literally just blowing out the back of the turbo and going all over here. This is why all this is covered in soot. Now, yes, I could have just left this one in. I could have just, you know, reinstalled it properly, but I thought, as I have a new shiny downpipe ready to go in, supplied by Cats to You, link down in the description for one of these, by the way, I thought I may as well, you know, go ahead and install it, and this one can go for scrap. Now, I appreciate I haven't shown you exactly how I have removed this, and that's because, like I said, I've done this job one time before, and I go through all of the step-by-steps in another video. So if you want to know how to remove one of these downpipes, there will be a link down in the description box below. The only difference with this one, though, because this is a post 2003, I think it's when they changed. Some had an O2 sensor, some didn't. The one that I swapped out before did not. This one does. If you do not, then you'll just install a blanking plug in there. Like I said, this one has the O2 sensor because it is a 2005. But yeah, relatively straightforward. Just a 22mm nut to undo, and then this wiring goes across the bell housing, so the gearbox at the back, and then joins on underneath the intake manifold down there. If I had known, it would have been easier to do this with the intake manifold removed, but yeah, it's easy enough to do it with in place, just a little bit fiddly. Okay then, so new downpipe is in place, properly fitted this time though, of course. One thing I have noticed though, I was just about to start putting the air filter back, air box and all the rest of it as well. Oh, one thing to notice, we have a Ram air filter. I was considering swapping out the air filter, but yeah, this is a lifetime one, so I may just give it a bit of a clean up and then put it back in. But yeah, one thing I was going to say was this tip here, the turbo intake pipe, it feels pretty loose, and I have a feeling that this is not even sealing on the turbo. See how much movement there is there? So I'm just going to remove it here from the mass airflow sensor and make sure that it's sitting on the turbo, because I'm sure this pipe here, I'm sure it like comes further along on the intake pipe here. So yeah, I have a feeling this is not seated correctly. So someone's definitely had this off before. I notice as well there's a lot of oil down there, so yeah, probably a bit from the crankcase breather, you know, it's just fell out the bottom of this pipe. So yeah, let's get this removed and make sure it's installed properly. Yeah, just as I thought, this was not even on properly. That's why there's all that oil there. I mean, the oil is, you know, pretty normal. I'm not concerned with that. It just came from the crankcase breather. If you have a look down into the turbo itself, there's like next to no oil in the turbo. So yeah, I'm confident it's not coming from the turbo. But can you see the outer ring on the turbo, that seal there? That's supposed to go on the inside of this pipe. So I'm guessing somebody's just pulled this off. That seal has stayed on the turbo. And of course, you're not going to install that on with the seal still on the turbo. You have to remove it, put it back in this pipe, and then push it on together. But yeah, I'm glad I took this off, because, well, it's just obviously turbo was, you know, not having a proper seal on it. There we are then, it's that pipe nice and cleaned up. Reinstalled that seal in the end as well. Now I know people will be asking, oh, why didn't you check the turbo for play, you know, while you had the intake pipe off? And I have done just that, and yeah, this turbo is perfect. Zero play whatsoever in the shaft. And yeah, 168,000 miles. It's more than likely the original and not doing too bad. Okay then, so reinstalled that turbo intake pipe, and as you can see, all of the engine covers are now reinstalled as well. It's so nice to see all of the engine covers now reinstalled, the scuttle panel, the cabin air filter, and the all of the rubbers that go around as well. These have all pretty much been removed ever since I bought the car, so yeah, definitely nice to see that all back in place and the engine bay now looking complete. Now you'll probably notice that I have the car off of the ramps. Wheels are still up in the air though, just supported by some jack stands and then the trolley jack at the front. That's because I need to get the wheels off, because we're now going to tackle the front control arms. Okay then, so when it comes to the removal of the front control arms, these wishbones here, there is 3 points of contact. So there's a nut there on the hub. There is a nut above here where it goes through the front subframe. Or I guess you wouldn't really call it a front subframe, it's more of an engine cradle just up there. To access that, I've had to remove this piece of plastic here, which just goes around the track rod boot gaiter, and there is 2 bolts at the rear there that holds the bush in place. They're obviously going to be easy to remove, I hope. That one's not going to be too bad, but this one up here, I think that's going to be a bit of a nightmare to try and get anything in there to get any kind of leverage on it, so let's hope that that's not too tight, but wish me luck. Okay, so having a bit of a nightmare at the moment. As you can see, very, very wet. It's absolutely hammering it down at the moment, so that's always fun. But the ball joints on these control arms, these wishbones, are being an absolute pain. So managed to get all of the nuts and bolts out. So the large bolt that goes on top of the subframe or engine carrier, that's a 21mm. The one on the hub, that's an 18mm, and these 2 bolts on the rear, they're 16mm. So got them all out, and now the 2 ball, well, it was the 2 ball joints, they were both seized. You can probably see this is broken off from the wishbone. I cut it just so I could get a bit more movement in it, and then I resorted to heat. I just had to go out and buy one of these blow torches. I don't have one, my dad has one, but yeah, I can't get that today, so yeah, just had to go and buy one of them. Also ordered an air hammer as well, which would come in handy for this job, but that's not going to be here until tomorrow. And to be honest, I needed to get this done today because yeah, it's without an MOT now, and you could say, well, I should have done this earlier, but you know, hindsight is a wonderful thing. We need to get this done as soon as possible, either today or tomorrow, and yeah, I just hope this other ball joint comes out a bit easier, although I don't really know how I'm going to get anything on that, because yeah, I don't really want to fire the blowtorch. I can't even show you kind of up in there, because there's hydraulic fluid pipes and all sorts, so I don't know, it's a bit of a dodgy one. I just need to get this done though. Finally got it out. I had to use a lot of heat on that. Of course, I could only apply the heat from the bottom. Like I said, I didn't want to put anything at the top because there's yeah, a lot of rubber up there and hydraulic lines and whatever else. So Yeah, basically just burnt through the rubber boot, and as you can see that's nothing left of the ball joint now, but then yeah, just heated up the base of this stud, and I guess the heat slowly travelled up and freed it. But yeah, it took a lot of whacking with a heavy hammer as well. Right, let's get the new arm installed, and then I guess it's repeat then for the other side. Yay, I can't wait. And voila, new control arm now in place. Torque specs, FT, FT and FT. To be honest, you know, they do have a torque spec, but they are nylon locking nuts, and could you get a torque wrench in there? Maybe. You can definitely get a torque wrench on those two. That one up there though, no chance. You can barely even get a socket in there. Can't get a ratchet up there, so you're never going to get a torque wrench up there. So yeah, FT will do the job nicely. And that's the other side done as well. New control arm, new rear bushing, and new drop link. Now, I did remember I said that I'd done the ball joints FT. The rear bushes though, it is important not to do them FT, because if you torque them down without the suspension under load, then the bushes will actually twist, and they'll just destroy themselves in not very much time at all. So you want to leave them just finger tight, get the car on the ground or on some ramps like I have, and then go ahead and torque them up. I'm sure they're like 45 to 50 Newton meters, not too tight at all, but yeah, we're good for that. You probably notice it's probably stopped dripping now, but I've just been draining the gearbox. Yep, just a trip there. The oil in it actually looks pretty good when I do an oil change on the gearboxes. You know, when I've done them in the past, it just comes out with black oil. But the oil in this looks pretty clean, so I'd say this has had a service sometime recently actually, but obviously I didn't know that, so it's always worth doing it. I'm also going to be servicing the rear diff as well. So I'll do the gearbox first, put the fill and drain plug back in, and about 1.9 litres of fluid, and then we'll, yeah, like I said, we'll do the diff, and then I think a good clean is in order, and we can get all of the under trays refitted. And there we go. Gearbox done, rear diff done. Just need to give the whole entire underside of the car a good clean, and then we get the under trays reinstalled, get it back on the floor, and then give the entire car a good wash and a good interior clean as well. Now I know some people may be thinking, why aren't you showing us the step-by-step what you're actually doing? Well, in the interest of time, like I said, I've got to get this done either today or tomorrow and then take it for its MOT. Yeah, really got to get things cracking. I already have my, you know, plenty of rear diff service videos on my channel, plenty of gearbox service videos as well. It's all pretty much the exact same, so yeah, feel free to check those out if you want to know how to do any of these jobs that I'm doing today. But yeah, really gotta move on and get this car finished, so like I said, we can take it for an MOT. And here we go then, engine bay all now cleaned, underside of the car now cleaned, under trays reinstalled as well. I didn't have time to clean the exterior and the interior. Of course I'll do that before it gets sold, but yeah, car's now ready to go for an MOT, so wish me luck. Okay, so now back from its MOT, we have some bad news. It failed. So it failed on two things actually. The first one, we had the traction light on, or the dynamic stability control light, as BMW like to call it, and we had an engine management light as well. Let's get inside the car and let me explain. Okay then, so to begin with, why was the traction control on, or the DSC light? So basically, I took the car to the MOT. On the way there, I noticed that the traction light was flickering. I thought, oh no, is this like the rear reluctor rings on the drive shaft or something like that, or is it just rust? I don't know. But then the traction light came on all together along with the brake light. That was when I was like, okay, now we have an issue. Could we have a faulty ABS sensor or something like that? I really don't know. But then I gave it a scan with ISTA, and it was coming up steering angle sensor plausibility. So I was like, okay, steering angle sensor needs resetting. Not only that, I did notice that the steering wheel was slightly off to the left. Now, a few days ago, before I've done all the work that I've just done, it was slightly off anyway, but it wasn't really like a massive concern. I mean, very, very slightly it was off. But I guess after fitting the new control arms, it's just made it even more off. There must have been, you know, quite a bit of play in the old control arms, and I guess now that I've taken up that play, it's, you know, put it even further off. So yeah, long story short, I had to take for a wheel alignment. Wheel alignment was absolutely fine. They said the track rods were nice and free, and yeah, literally took them 15 minutes to adjust the front toe. And yeah, after I've done that, steering wheel is now bang on in the middle, so it drives perfectly. And then I was just able to reset the steering angle sensor, and the DSC lights went off. So yeah, result for that. With regards to the engine management light, that was my fault. I was, yeah, being a bit stupid. Basically, I've disconnected the EGR valve. I've just taken the vacuum hose off it and put a screw in there. You know, of course that's not going to pass an MOT like that, so I just put it back in. I've now removed it again. When it comes to the next owner, it's up to them if they want to have the EGR valve active or not, but obviously I've cleaned out all the intake ports, I've cleaned out the intake manifold, so in the meantime I didn't want all those exhaust gases going back into the intake. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, like I said, all passed now, all good. And yeah, I guess all we need to do now, like I said, is give this car a good, thorough, deep clean, and then it's ready to go for sale. So yeah, pretty much done now, guys. Hopefully you've all enjoyed this video anyway. Please remember to give it a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in that next one.